An absolutely magnificent day in Denver, Colorado. Don Coryell and the San Diego Chargers in town. After a big win against the Bears on Monday night, they're 7-7. Dan Reeves, Denver Broncos, fighting for the AFC Western title if he wins today. And next Saturday in Seattle, the Broncos are champions of the toughest division in football. Rolf Bernerska will kick it off. Wilhite and Lang at the other end. Dick Enberg with Merlin Olsen. We're pleased you're aboard. 75,000 sold out again in Denver, and here comes Gene Lang down at the 19-yard line as Darren Nelson up around the shoulders to make the hit. 15-yard return, and here come the Broncos on offense with John Elway at quarterback. Sammy Winder just a few yards away from the 1,000-yard club. Two tight ends, often that they'll use here. Jim Wright and Clarence Kay, the rookie, down at the bottom. You saw Butch Johnson and the other wide receiver, Steve Watson. We'll watch him closely. Watson has a bad back. The offensive line, Suttard, Bishop, Ryan, Cooper, and Lanier.
Watson is in to start the game. They're going to test him.
He's to the right. He warmed up well. He had back spasms, has not practiced the last 3 days. Elway comes out throwing and has his man Butch Johnson at the 30-yard line. First down, Denver. Defensively, see Lucius Smith making that tackle. Ian, Elko, and Ferguson in the front three of the Chargers. Their linebackers young and improving every week. Lyndon King's made some big hits all year. Mike Green leads the team in tackles. Billy Ray Smith is much improved, and Woody Lowe, the steady veteran. Two waiver men at the corners, Lucius Smith and Bill Kay, with all the injuries to the Chargers defensive backs, and Ken Green and Tim Fox at safety. First down across the 30. Drilling the ball to Watson, who breaks free for a first down at the 44. Boy, Elway really fired that one into a crowd.
I talked to Steve Watson yesterday. I asked him how his back was. He said, I was able to tie my shoes this morning for the first time all week. Imagine now, with that kind of back problem, being out there on the field and catching a pass. He's amazing. He's a great athlete. He really is.
Free agent pick out of Temple. He's over the 1,000-yard mark for this season. First running play of the game by the Broncos, and Winder fighting to the 48-yard line, maybe the 49. 4 yards for Sammy Winder out of Southern Mississippi. He needs just 17 starting today to hit the 1,000-yard mark. No Bronco back has done that since Otis Armstrong 8 years ago.
The running game has been very important to these Denver Broncos. Reed said it's really been the key to their success this year. But against the Chargers, they're going to have to throw the ball more. San Diego gives up yardage on the pass much more easily than they do on the run.
Unseasonably warm. Near 60 degrees this early December Sunday. Pressure on Elway. Going long for Johnson. Elway, a good job of stepping up into the cup furling to avoid an excellent pass rush.
Showed you some real athletic ability there as he dodged the blitz, able to get enough time to release it deep. His receiver, Johnson, didn't have a chance at it. Johnson's kind of in the doghouse with Elway. Dropped 3 passes last week in that ball game, which they lost to Kansas City.
Well, it's good night for New England as the Raiders now are in the playoffs. The Super Bowl champions, in Miami, after trailing early in that game, has defeated Indianapolis 35-17. So the Dolphins now have home field throughout the entire playoffs. That's been assured for them. The Raiders can celebrate. They play on Monday night. I know many of them are watching right now. They are definitely one of the wild cards in the American Conference. Still some Holden field advantages to be decided. Elway drilling it incomplete. A good play by Lucius Smith. Appeared to get that right hand in there. Smith from Cal State Fullerton. He was dropped by 2 teams during the course of this year. Picked up by the Chargers. Makes a good play.
Interesting how he was able to read the receiver. Knew exactly when to get those hands out in front of him. Very often what the defensive backs will do is when that receiver begins to lift his hands, or when he uses his eyes in such a way that they know the ball is arriving, they'll get those hands out in front of him.
Chris Norman to punt. He had a 83-yarder earlier this year. Lionel Little Train James returned one for a touchdown against Pittsburgh. End over end at the 12. Got some blockers now. returns to the 21-yard line. Now the Chargers have the ball for the first time. A 38-yard punt by Norman. 9-yard return by Little Scores. They defeated the Bears earlier. Ed Luther is the quarterback for the injured Dan Fouts. Ernest Jackson over 1,000 yards rushing. He could win the AFC title. Charlie Joyner, all-time receiver. Wes Chandler, the speed, 2 tight ends. Beavers and Holohan with Clapham, Wilkerson. Masick is okay. He had been injured. McKnight and White in the offensive line. From the 21. Jackson in the flat, and he loses 2. Well read by Mike Harden, the cornerback, assisted Jim Ryan. Defensively for the orange jersey Broncos, and that has been the strength of this team. Davis, Carter, and Rulon Jones, their top pass rusher. Jim Ryan, Rick Dennison, Steve Busick leads in tackles. Tom Johnston, the veteran, having another banner year. Louis Wright and Mike Harden leads in interceptions. Harden with 6. At the corners with Smith and Foley at safety. 2nd and 12. Luther's first pass, and there's Holohan across the 30 and appears to have a first down at the 32. Louis Wright on the hit, 13 yards.
You mentioned the weather earlier and how unseasonably warm it is. A big advantage with this San Diego offense. So many of the plays they run are timing patterns that require specific moves, and this warm weather allows players to really play in the same kind of weather they practice in. This is just the kind of weather they've been working out in San Diego, and who would have thought that?
It is a beautiful day, a first down. In fact, as we left the Brown Hotel downtown here in Denver, the lights at 60 degrees at high noon Denver time, and that's now after 2 o'clock. It's dropped a bit, but could not have a more perfect football afternoon.
For those who saw that snowstorm earlier in the year, they've got to be wondering what's going on here in Denver, Colorado. I feel a little silly with these long underwear.
First down, San Diego, out of that full house backfield. It's Buford McGee slamming his way for 5 before Wright could make the tackle. McGee, the star in that Miami overtime win when he raced for a touchdown to beat the Dolphins, their first loss. Mississippi goes out on 2nd and 5. Coryell's offense reads more like pass. Rams take the early lead against Houston in the first quarter. Of course, the Rams fighting for a wild card. They're in with those 3 teams, actually 4 teams in the NFC East. At the 40-yard line, short of a first down by a yard, picks up 4. Ernest Jackson from Texas A&M. You saw Johnny Hector of the Jets performing yesterday on NBC. He was the number 2 pick, and Ernest Jackson went in the 8th round, and Jackson has been quite a bonus for San Diego.
Ed Luther had his first start here last year against these Broncos at a game that actually San Diego got out ahead 6-0, went on to lose again. Luther had a 1-5 record last year. He's 1-0 so far in relief of Fouts in 1984.
3rd and 1, 3 men in the backfield. Oh my! Jackson, had he stayed on his feet, there was no one downfield. 3 yards and a first down.
Full house backfield, a little traditional old-time football. They bring one man in motion across the grain. That's Morris, the blocker, really. That's Buford McGee, 21, getting a good block on Smith. But Jackson is an explosive, flashing runner. And very often, if you can break the plane of that line of scrimmage on short yardage, with everybody stacked there, there's room to head downfield.
Pittsburgh is edged Cleveland 23-20. The Steelers fighting with Cincinnati for the championship of the Central Division. Cincinnati was winning at New Orleans. We'll give you those scores. And, of course, Denver's already heard that Kansas City is beating up on Seattle. Wes Chandler drawing a crowd at the 45-yard line. A gain of 1. There's Dennis Smith, number 1 pick out of Southern California. Number 49 made the tackle.
The trademark of this Denver defense is speed, team speed. They will really claw at you.
St. Louis Cardinals have defeated the Giants 31-21. Oh, that really thickens the pot in the NFC East. Luther now 3 3-3 Cincinnati edges New Orleans 24-21. Pittsburgh still leads by a game, but should they lose to the Raiders and Cincinnati wins next week, then the Bengals have the title. Jackson breaking a tackle in the backfield. He's in Denver territory at the 49. Harden made the hit. It's short of a first down. 7 more yards for Jackson. Third in the AFC. He started today only 42 yards behind Marcus Allen, who leads the American Conference. Freeman McNeil's season is over. He's in second place, 4 yards behind Allen of the Raiders.
Jackson showing an improved running style as the year has gone on. He really has grown into that responsibility and tries the ball. No, he really hangs on to that football.
The 3rd and 2. Jackson ran into his own blocker, and I don't think he made it. White helping out from the corner. Busick was right there for Denver.
Coryell deciding early not to do anything but play the odds here as he sends his punter onto the field. Buford will be kicking probably for the corner, although he may try and pooch this one high and get his defenders down underneath it to touch it down.
Those kickers hate to be in this situation to pooch in Denver. Boy, they like to really swing the leg because this is where you get those long kicks.
Especially on a nice warm day like today, the ball will just fly.
Buford had 171 yards here last year. That's his career best. Having a good season. Gerald Wilhite at 10. Look at that ball carry. Oh, Wilhite's going to field it at 3.
I think that's a mistake.
And he gets back only to the 14-yard line. Denver will start deep in its own end. No score here at Mile High Stadium. 8:22 remaining in the first quarter. While we were away for that most important news report, here's the play as Elway finds Sandy Winder for a 16-yard gain.
Winder using his speed and quickness to get some extra yardage here and a big first down as Elway brings the troops up to the line of scrimmage.
First down at the 29. Gerald Wilhite. Oh, what a hit. Trying to set himself for a cut, and he ran right into Lucius Smith.
Lucius Smith showing us some excellent play when you pick up a couple of cornerbacks off the street, and literally that's what Jim Wagstaff had to do because of all the injuries to the San Diego secondary. Picked up 2 cornerbacks that had been cut twice, had really been waived by 2 other teams in the NFL, and had to put them into the starting lineup. And they played pretty darn well.
Steps himself as he put Denver in a 2nd and 11 with that tackle.
I don't think this is going to become a trend in the NFL, though.
Sometimes, though, you find a gem there. Smith is young enough. He's only 27. Looking long is Elway. Time running out. Oh, he's throwing the ball loosely. Still free. And finally, the Chargers fall on it at the 42-yard line. Chuck Ian, number 78. Who played his football in this part of the country at BYU.
The nemesis for the quarterback, and very often for anyone running in the open field, the blind side hit. Elway will evade the rush initially, but as he heads upfield, watch him as he tries to use that ball for balance. He'll get hit from behind right there, and the ball knocked away. Chargers pounce on it. They have an excellent opportunity.
Ball at the 42 of Denver, and the Chargers have a chance to take the early lead. Are you surprised at all at teams fighting for the playoffs, and your club totally out of it, beating them late this season?
I think one of the things that happens late in the year, teams get tired and often begin looking past. I had a feeling Seattle was looking by today. They had their eye on Denver next week, and Kansas City's a good football team. They just came up and nailed them.
No question about the strength of the 5 teams in this AFC West. Chargers with a fumble recovery. Start at the 42 of Denver. Ernest Jackson, 40. And to the 32-yard line. A good gain of about 10. Ed Luther, San Jose State. 9 or 10 yards on that throw. Dan Fouts, the quarterback of the Chargers, had arthroscopic surgery this week. So obviously will not play today, but I guess could play next Sunday if the Chargers wanted him to. He's not on the injured list. But Luther's done a good job, just inches short of the first down.
Dick, I think they did put him on the injured list late today and activated Ray Preston. They had debated as to whether they should do that, but they just won't take any chances with Fouts. It's the smart thing to do. Preston able to help on special teams in particular, but Luther, because of Fouts' durability and his toughness, has played very little in his career. Got 6 games last year, and we mentioned his first start here, and this is just his second start of this year in relief of Dan Fouts.
A year ago, he got the initial start. Look at that. Jackson powers his way to a first down at the 26-yard line. Ernest Jackson might well be pressuring Marcus Allen for that AFC rushing championship in 1984.
We said it earlier. He gets better and better. And the characteristic that ties these two defensive teams together is that they will give up a lot of yardage. The one difference between the two defensive teams is that the Broncos have been able to shut it down as you approach their goal line. They'll take the football away from you. They have not allowed a lot of points in this season.
You get inside that 20-yard line, and it's a different game with the Broncos. Luther. Incomplete. Busick bobbling the ball. He had a couple of shots at it, and the ball, just like a bar of soap, just kept slipping away.
It's hard to get down into a player's head on the field. You know he's got to be frustrated. He's got a shoulder problem, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's not strapped up with some straps on that shoulder with some tape on it, and that might have been one of the problems he had. It looked like he couldn't get his arms up to pull that football down.
Number 1 tackler for the Broncos this year. He has 2 previous interceptions. The Broncos have been good at that sort of thing. 29 for the year to tie a club record. They're second to Seattle. Seahawks led starting today with 34. Second and 10. Rulon Jones. Luther gets away, but not for long, and he fumbles. Was it after he was hit? Yes, he was down. Rick Jennison made the tackle. The ground caused the fumble.
Almost identical to the play by Elway just a short while ago, as you saw Luther holding that ball out dangerously in his right hand. Again, the hit from behind, and the ball bounces loose. Just at the end of the play, there it is, and you'll see him hit the ground, and the ball bounces free. Good call by the official.
A short gain for Luther on the scramble inside the 25-yard line. Would be 3rd and 8. No score, 4:43 remaining first quarter. Chargers are tough on 3rd down. That was Jesse Vendross in motion. He's going for Duckworth. No flag. Louis Wright and Steve Foley had the receiver sandwich.
The man on top of Ed Luther, number 77, Carl Mecklenburg. You'll see him both as a linebacker and as a down lineman in the game today. Mecklenburg, really a tremendous hitter. We saw him level Marcus Allen here in a Raider game earlier. The bright young star. And a growing number of teams using almost a mid-sized linebacker or a mid-sized lineman to play both of those positions. And A.J. Dewey, for example. Ted Hendricks did it for many years for the Raiders.
42-yard field goal try by Benerska, one of the most accurate kickers in the league. And that one couldn't be more dead center. The Chargers lead 3-0. Benerska capitalizing on the fumble recovery with 4. Well, the AFC West has been wild. Kansas City Chiefs out of the playoffs, hammering Seattle 34-7. And here, the upstart Chargers, 3-0 lead over the favorite Broncos. Benerska to kick it off. Lang and Wilhite at the other end. Wilhite 5 yards deep. He'll stay there. Broncos take over at the 20. Here's what's at stake for Denver. They've already clinched the wild card berth, but they need wins today and next Saturday at Seattle to have home field advantage and the AFC Western Championship. Regardless of what happens today, the winner next Saturday, and we'll be doing that game for you around the country from the Kingdome, the winner of that game will win the AFC West. Nothing deficit during Elway and the Broncos late first quarter. This is the best field position. Their other 2 possessions were inside the 20. Elway over the middle. intercepted by Woody Lowe on the ricochet, and Lowe has it at the 24-yard line. Right through the arm to the Bronco receiver. Lyndon King had it, then it caromed to Lowe.
I don't know whether Lyndon King actually threw it back up into the air or whether it bounced off of his hands, but it will go as an interception by Woody Lowe. That's the 18th of his career, the 3rd of the season. Here's a chance to watch Elway from behind. Throws right over the middle. Bounced out of Alexander's hands, number 80, and bounced out of the hands of Lyndon King right into the waiting arms of Woody Lowe. Chargers, a second big turnover and great field position here. Let's see if they can capitalize.
Ernest Jackson for a couple. Busick, Jackson in on the play. Final score from Soldier Field, Chicago. Green Bay comes back on a Rich Campbell to Phil Epps pass with 34 seconds left. A 43-yard play for the win. And Kansas City has finished the job against the Seattle Seahawks. 34-7 in the biggest surprise of the day. Luther screens it. Well, there's no one over here. Jackson had Rick Dennison right on him, and that was a wise toss by Luther.
Luther showing you some maturity in that situation. Did not do as good a job of play acting on that screen. A quarterback really has to set that up by looking like he's going downfield. Luther dropping a little too quickly into his deep drop situation there, and it just didn't fool that Denver defense. Dennison over on top of the receiver, but then he showed his maturity by throwing that ball away.
Well, Elway's been intercepted here. We understand Dave Craig was intercepted 5 times and Zorn once in the loss to Kansas City.
After such a big week, 6 touchdowns last week for Craig?
Luther under pressure. There's his man. Just in and out of the hands of Eric Sievers, and the defensive play was made by Randy Robbins, the rookie from Arizona. Just did get a piece of it. That'll force about a 41-yard field goal by Benershka.
Let's watch the receiver here, Eric Sievers, number 85. Right here, he's going to go down the field and across the middle. He's covered by Randy Robbins, number 48. You'll see the play at the end of it. He is literally sandwiched. I believe Steve Foley also in on that play. Look at him cutting across the middle. Good coverage by the defender, and I don't think he could have hung onto that football anyway. Foley was right into his ribs. 41 yards away, and it is good. Just did catch inside that right upright, and Benershka 2 for 2, 41 yards, matched with a 42. That spells out the early lead for San Diego, 6-0 in about an hour. Offered some sympathy. Carlos hitting the upright, 2 tough tries in the late seconds for 2 losses. Wilhite 2 yards deep, going to take it out. And does get out to the 22-23-yard line. Tripped up by Gary Nelson, one of the stars of the special teams for the Chargers. The number 1 coverage man for the Chargers just streaked downfield. He's not the fastest man for them, but he got down in a hurry to make the play. There he is right at the end of it, breaking through the coverage, stretching out, just gets the touch on the ankle there, just enough to break Wilhite down.
22-yard line. The Broncos go to work. The last 2 possessions, a fumble and a pass interception. The Denver half of the field, leading to 2 Charger field goals. Up the middle goes Sammy Winder. Lyndon King with a tackle and a gain of almost 9.
One of the real bright lights for the San Diego Chargers, Billy Ray Smith, right on the left side of your screen, right in the center, actually, 54. Watch him now. He's going to come right straight at you. Billy Ray is going to blitz, heading up into the line, gets a bump right there on Keith Bishop, and just gets a finger on the ball carrier there, but very quick reaction. Billy Ray showing you what he can do on the field.
Watson in motion on 2nd and 2. Winder at the 35, a first down. Billy Ray Smith from Arkansas in his 2nd year, and they're saying even though Green leads in tackles, that this young man is really living up to his number 1 draft pick status.
There's a real lesson in his transition from college, where he was a stand-up defensive lineman, and often a down defensive lineman, to his position now as a linebacker, which requires all of this dropping into the secondary. Last year was not very good on pass coverage. Went home and worked and worked and worked, and now it is one of his strengths. It makes the difference for him. He has become a great linebacker because of that.
Winder, the only back behind Elway. He now has 1,001 yards this year. Play action. All the time in the world to go to Watson. And he was running as if that back was bothering him. Don't you think, Merlin?
There's no question about it. Watson does not have blazing speed anyway. But he's working one-on-one on a man who also does not have blazing speed, Bill Kay, number 31. And ordinarily, with that kind of jump, Watson would have been right out in front. You know that Elway is throwing to his vision of Watson when he's healthy. It's hard for him to make the adjustment to Watson's back.
There was a stiff sort of a gait for Watson, and even though he had a step on his man, I think Elway figured he'd be a little farther along than he was. 2nd and 10. They just announced the Kansas City score, beating Seattle. That was the roar you heard in the background. Little reverse to Winder. Did not work. Mike Green, 58.
Oh, what a great play from the inside. Green leads this team in tackles because he has a great nose for the football. He just scoped that play out and blitzed from the inside position. Excellent pursuit. You'll see him on the left side of your screen, number 58. He just read it so quickly. He'll come all the way across, dodge the body, close the ground, and get some help right at the end from 51, Woody Lowe. That's great inside-out pursuit by Mike Green.
3rd down and a short 9. Ooh, how'd he get out of that? And there's his man, Chris Johnson. Fumble, and the Chargers have it again. No, now they're going to call it no completion. Ooh, that could have gone either way.
One of the things you will see on this play, and we'll open up so you'll have an opportunity to watch it in action. Watch the drops of the linebackers here. Here's one of the secondary. But look at all this open space right in between. That's what Elway would like to take advantage of. He gets extra time here out of the shotgun. Look how much area there is open. Finally gets the receiver hooked up into it. You'll see him right at the bottom of your screen. Look at the open area in the center there. Butch Johnson got in there, got the ball knocked away. They're a little sensitive here about that in Denver. They had a call like that really cost them a ball game against Seattle.
Kick by Chris Norman into the sun. James. He's got it covered right there. Probably a wise choice. Just inside the 15-yard line. Timeout. We have 46 seconds remaining in the first quarter. The Chargers, the underdogs, lead it 6-0. Chargers lead in the series. It covers some 25 years, going back to the AFL years. But the Broncos have been on top of late, and especially here, 13-2 in Denver. But it's San Diego 6-0, final seconds, first quarter. Crowd trying to help out the Denver defense. Ernest Jackson for about 4, maybe 5. Jackson and Jackson. Tom on defense and Ernest with a football for San Diego.
Tom Jackson really has been the heart of this team for a long time. He's the emotional leader. Randy Gradishar was their leader for many years, but when Gradishar retired last year, Tom Jackson had to take over some of those responsibilities. He has had a phenomenal year. Coach is a little concerned. He's kind of tailed off a little for a brief time, but it's bouncing back now and getting back into the swing of things. It's had a marvelous, marvelous year for the Broncos.
They grew up in East Cleveland. He said they played football in the streets. The curbs were the sidelines. He said, I know how to play rough.
You didn't want to get out of bounds there.
That's the end of the first quarter. They've sold out here for 15 straight years. They start the second quarter. Denver trailing San Diego 6-0. Chargers 2nd down and 5. Ernest Jackson gets outside and a first down out of bounds at the 28-yard line.
We talk about veterans in the NFL. Here's a man, 25 years. One of the original AFL coaches. He's the only one. I think there are 5 coaches from those original staffs in the AFL. A man with the orange hat right in the middle of your screen. And we'll get a shot of him in a minute. He keeps a little notebook. There it is, tucked down into his pants. Look, he's got that notebook tucked down in there. And I said, what's in that notebook? He said, I've got to have the notebook so I can make my notes. He said, once I write it down, I remember it. But that's where he carries his information.
25 years. He's got the largest orange outfit in the history of sports. Ernest Jackson to the 33-yard line.
16 years Joe Collier has been here in Denver. And his Denver defense as well. Ernie Zampese. You were talking about another defense earlier in the year. He said they played defense like the Denver Broncos. I mean, that was the compliment that he used to compliment someone else, and that's the reason.
He said he was the first one that would use a zone defense inside the 20 about 5 years ago. Everyone played man-to-man inside the 20, but Collier devised the zone defense, and now more and more clubs are using that technique.
Well, you saw him signaling in the defense to his defenders on the field.
Tighten the screws, I think he said.
I think he did.
2nd and 5. Wide open, Holohan. Let's talk about Pete Holohan, who has the first down. Holohan has 49 catches this year. From Notre Dame, he was just kind of hanging on. Didn't know much about him for a couple of years. A special teams player. He's become a legitimate top-notch tight end.
Well, if you want to wonder at the coaching ability of Don Coryell, when Kellen Winslow went down, people said, oh, that's going to kill this offense. Well, Holohan and Sievers really have stepped in to take that load. They're not the receivers and the force that Kellen is, but they certainly have done a great job in this season.
Rams leading the Oilers in Anaheim 17-3. We understand Eric Dickerson has run for a touchdown, a short run. Another first down for San Diego. They're moving the ball well against this Denver defense. That one intended for Charlie Joyner. Steve Wilson, 45, appeared to get a piece of him.
Charlie Joyner in with an awful lot of bodies down there. Look at the crowd that Charlie draws as he gets downfield. Charlie just go down. He's going to break to the outside. That's Steve Foley, number 43, pushing him outside. The pass a little bit late, and that's been one of Luther's problems. I think if that ball had been thrown on time, and that is a timing pattern, that Charlie was open.
I think he threw it when he saw Charlie Joyner look at him, where Fouts would have thrown it long before that time. Oh, Jackson, is he quick into the hole?
Oh, my. He just launched his body, firing up. This Denver Broncos defensive line is not as big and physical as they were at one time. You can, if you run right at them, you can get some yardage up the middle.
3rd down and a long 5 for San Diego. Bronco defense has given up a lot of yards this year, but very few points. The Chargers have given up an average of more than 10 points a game than Denver. Nice throw. That's Sievers or Bendros. That might be it. Jesse Bendros, the rookie from Alabama, lined up in the backfield. That's a new wrinkle, and he has big yardage, 22 yards.
Jesse lined up and showed you some speed coming out of there, and that is a very difficult type of pass to throw. Luther had it all the way. Jesse Bendros, his full name, Jesse James Bendros. He stole a little bit of yardage on that one, Dick.
I was wide open. A perfect call against the blitz of the Broncos.
Ernie Zampese, the man calling those plays, he's upstairs in the press box. Sends them down via the phones, and they're relayed by signal out to the quarterback, Ed Luther.
Luther has the team in field goal range again, but he looks for more than that. Incomplete. Tough chance for Holohan. Even had he caught the ball, would have been little or no gain.
Those of you who follow these two teams will remember that when they met earlier, a 16-13 victory by the Broncos with a late drive, Holohan and Sievers were both injured, not in the lineup. Coryell having to go with a couple of backup tight ends. In fact, strangely enough, 2 backup tight ends from the Broncos, Egloff and Mitchell,
and also Drew Gissinger, a tackle play.
That's right, Drew caught a pass. Yeah. They put an 87 number on, I think, on him, and he caught a pass as a tight end.
Stoic Dan Reeves watching as the Chargers dominated the early part of this game. Rookie Buford McGee running through a tackle, stopped at the 27-yard line by Tom Jackson.
There are certain plays, Dick, that defensively you can't afford to bite on, and one of them is that little quick screen to the outside. You have to count on the quickness and the reaction of the defense and the tackling ability of the defense to stop that play. And even though that play was open, the Denver defense responded so quickly that it was a short game.
Duckworth to the right, Chandler to the left, Joyner slotted left, Dendros and Severs line up in the backfield. Now there is no back. Tight end Severs, maybe he'll stay in the block. Yes. Luther to Joyner, and a first down inside the 20. Charlie Joyner's first catch, his 57th of the year. And he goes through that ritual after the catch.
Pushing himself off the ground. He is so delightful. I asked him about last week. They had a big ceremony for him at halftime in the Charger game. The mayor declared it Charlie Joyner Day, and Charlie was able to give his jersey and the football that he caught his record-setting pass with to the Hall of Fame, taken back by Don Smith. And his old coach, Eddie Robinson from Grambling, was there to help him celebrate the occasion. He's the kind of guy that doesn't want that much attention, though. It's embarrassing, I think, a little bit to it.
All-time receiver, breaking Charlie Taylor's mark a couple of weeks ago and adding with each reception. Offside, a little movement. Jackson dragged down by Louis Wright.
Well, it might have been a movement by... Now, what are they going to say? Yes, they're going to say that Clapham moved early on that play.
Gary Mark Bright, the referee, to sort things out.
Rulon Jones already across the line, but I think he was pulled by a movement by number 77, Sam Clapham.
The first penalty of the game. That's a good piece of news, isn't it?
Both these teams a little bit not as emotional, not as high as I thought they might be. The Chargers obviously very loose as they approach this game. They have absolutely nothing to lose. They're in the spoilers role. But the Broncos with a great deal at stake today.
So the motion penalty will cost the Chargers 5.
Illegal motion, number 77, offense, first down again.
Back at the 24-yard line, it'll be first and 15. Clapham, they call him the Chief. He is half Cherokee Indian.
He's concerned about Rulon Jones. Obviously, in a passing situation, Rulon is a very quick pass rusher, a finesse rusher, and often you see that, Dick. Those offensive linemen want that jump. They want to get back so that rusher can't be on them too quickly, and sometimes they get back a little too fast.
Joyner lines up in the backfield, now goes in motion.
The blitz is on.
And Luther is sacked for the first time, Rick Dennison, and that is a Denver all-time record, the 51st of the year.
An 11-yard loss. And once again, the Denver defense comes up with the big play when they have to make the big play. They've done it consistently all year long. Luther will get pressure from the right side. There he is, 55. Dennison puts him on the ground, takes them way back. Luther's going to have to pick up some yardage to get him back in field goal range.
All the way back to the 35-yard line, where it'll be second down and 26. 6-0. Chargers lead. 9:51 remaining in the first half. Going for Duckworth. He's open, but out of the end zone. Bobby Duckworth of Arkansas, and of some notoriety after last Monday night when he lost one touchdown but came back to make amends. He was out of the end zone.
Bobby Duckworth, right at the bottom of your screen, is just going to run a wide open up. He's going to use his speed now to just try and blow by the defenders. Watch him here as he just accelerates, zips right past him, has the opening there. He's deep on Wilson, Steve Wilson, 45. But you saw it very clearly. He was out of the end zone and can't do that.
Boy, did you see the strides, and he does have speed.
About an 8-yard stride every time he steps, I think.
He was a great decathlon star in high school in Arkansas, the state champion. 3rd and 26. Surprisingly, not out of the shotgun. No, not good. It bounced to Severs and bounced away. Here comes Bernerska. This will be a long field goal try. He was practicing from 58 yards in warm-up and not doing that well.
Now, this is definitely a long shot, but if you're going to kick the long field goals, what a great place to kick them. Here in Denver, where you can use the altitude, that ball just flies further. Like the golfers here, if you play at sea level and come up to Denver, you take about a club less when you hit the ball. That ball just flies.
His longest ever, Benerska, and a club record is 53. This would tie the San Diego record held by Benerska.
No.
That's about how he was kicking them in practice. A little too much, and he may have been trying to hit it too hard.
When you go for a long field goal, you want that big contact, and sometimes you hit the ball a little bit high, and you line drive it.
So Denver will take over in a good position at the 30. Dick Enberg, Merlin Olsen, welcome back to Denver, Colorado, Mile High Stadium, where the Broncos, with a victory, would tie Seattle and send it into that climactic game on Saturday next at the Kingdome. But they trail San Diego 6-0, and the Chargers have rolled the football 14, almost 15 minutes to Denver's 6+. Elway completes it to Paris. Rick Paris into the game. His first call, and Billy Ray Smith makes the tackle. It's short of a first down.
Clarence Kay, number 88, the tight end. You'll see him at the bottom of your screen. Very often a man gets open, and he just is not spotted by the quarterback. Watch Kay going all the way across the field. There's no one around him, but the quarterback was looking upfield. Actually got a pretty good gain out of the play, but Clarence Kay is out there saying, hey, throw it to me. I got all kinds of room.
He's caught only 15 passes this year, and maybe the defense of San Diego gambling and say, hey, let's not even bother with him. We don't think they're going to throw to him anyway. Screen for Winder. He has the first down at the 47. Bill Elko, number 68, who has, a half dozen thin snakes. He really is very fond of that creature. One of these unique people in the game of football. His uncle is Frank Kush, the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts.
Timing just a little off on that play, Dick. It looked like Winder ready for that ball a little earlier, and things kind of closed up. The ball a little slow getting there. There was nothing really except short yardage in the first down for Winder to pick up.
Watson way out of your picture, bottom of the screen. Winder up the middle to the San Diego 49-yard line. Gain of 4.
This is the Jim Wright, number 87, right here. Now he's going to go in motion, and he ends up blocking to the inside. Watch him as he'll slide inside on this play. This is the H-back. Look at this. As he dives in, he actually becomes the lead blocker for that play. Ends up blocking on Mike Green, number 58. Green did a good job, but that's the H-back concept that has become such a big philosophy for so many teams in the NFL. Big men on big men. A lot of advantages to that kind of system.
Yeah, the pulling guard in reverse, isn't it?
It surely is.
Elway. Incomplete. The ball was out of bounds. Clint Sampson, 84, the target, but had he caught the ball, it would have been incomplete anyway.
Let's talk just for a second about that H-back concept. And you described it perfectly on that play. That's like a pulling, instead of a guard pulling from the inside, it's a big tight end coming from the outside. Also, if you have a good receiver at that position, someone who can block and catch as well, because they're close to the line, you can put an extra receiver into the pattern very quickly. The other thing you can do is shift the strength of the formation by running that H-back across from one side to the other. Often you'll see him start in, turn around, come back. It creates a lot of confusion for the defenses.
Broncos looking for their first point. 7 minutes left in the half. 6-0 San Diego. Elway finds a man open. Alexander down at the 31-yard line. The first catch for Ray Alexander.
Gambling does not always pay off. The 24, Miles McPherson, the man who decided he was going to take that football away from the receiver. He gambled. You'll see him on the right side of your screen. He's already gone past the defender. He missed the football and opened it up. Tim Fox, number 48, finally over to make the tackle. But the Broncos have their first drive of the day going.
Their deepest penetration at the Charger 30-yard line. 6.5 minutes remaining in the half. Chargers 6, Broncos nothing. Here comes Winder. Cuts back to the inside. With wonderful balance, Winder ad-libbing his way to the 23-yard line.
It's interesting how many good running backs have learned to cut back against the grain. That was something that very few running backs did for years. And now you see more and more of it. An overreaction by the defense. Winder using his speed and balance, as you indicated, to get some extra yardage on the play. He's down with about, a second, 3 yards, a little over 3 yards to go for the first down.
Watson right. Kay and Jim right. Bookie in the line, actually right, is your H-back in motion. Elway on a sprint out to Paris, but that gains maybe a yard at best as Lyndon King had it well covered. King from Colorado State playing with a little extra energy in front of some of his friends and fans in this wonderful area. Washington trailing Dallas 14-3 in the second quarter. Last report, another late game. The Rams were leading Houston 17-3.
What a big game that is. Cowboys finally coming to life here in the late season. Went through a horrendous midseason slump.
Broncos in the last 2 weeks have been miserable at best on third down. And Dan Reeves with us. Third down and about a 3, wants to talk it over with Elway. Timeout, 5:01 remaining in the first half. And 3 for the Broncos at the San Diego 23-yard line. 5 minutes remaining in the first half, 6-0 Chargers. Elway after visiting with Reeves, he goes to the air, and Wilhite was inside the 20. It'll be a first down at the 19-yard line. Knocked back by Miles McPherson, but he does have the first down.
We mentioned the similarities in both of these defenses. They give you some room underneath. They drop deep, and then they come up and try and force the mistake. They'll try and knock that ball loose. You saw it there as they leveled on Wilhite, but Wilhite hung on for the first down.
Finals, Pittsburgh wins. Kansas City upsets Seattle. The St. Louis Cardinals are still in the thick of things. Philadelphia upsets New England. The Patriots' playoff hopes are over. First down at the 19. Not quite to the 15. It'll be second and long. Other finals. Green Bay wins at Chicago. Walter Payton ran some plays out of the single wing. Miami wins again, 4 more touchdowns for Marino. Cincinnati still alive with 1 game to go in their fight with Pittsburgh. 23-6 Tampa Bay. Atlanta really struggling at the season's end. Dallas leads 14-3. 17-6 Rams in the second quarter. You're up to date here at 6-0. Stay tuned. They'll have all the results, highlights, NFL 84, Costas, and characters. A reverse to Butch Johnson, breaks the tackle and gets to the 13. They'll out of smoke and mirrors, but not much yardage out of that play.
I'll say the maddest man on the field, 78 Chuck, he had Butch in the backfield. Butch just did a little shadow dance on him and got away. He is back there slamming his fists together. Butch able to pick up some yardage. It's still going to be a relatively long shot. Third and about 4 to go.
Time running out in the first half. 11th play of this drive. And Elway on third and a short 4. Works from the shotgun. And that was not a good throw at all. And a flag down as Elway under pressure threw it low to Alexander.
We've got a holding call in the middle of that offensive line.
We'll see whether it figures that the Chargers will decline the penalty and force the Broncos to kick a field goal.
Keith Ferguson, number 76, is really the toughest of the rushers in there for the Chargers. He's really come on strong.
Holding number 54, offense, penalty declined, fourth down.
And here comes Rich Carlos onto the field. Carlos, who has hit the upright twice in the final seconds. The last 2 weeks, both losses, been under obvious pressure, and yet the fans of Denver have been tremendously supportive of this man, whom they have voted the NFL Man of the Year for the Denver Broncos. Let's see what happens. A 30-yard attempt. He's hit the right upright 2 weeks ago, and then the left upright last week at Kansas City. It's 6-3, and Carlos can breathe a little easier. It's been a field goal season for Denver. 14 games, 7 of them have been decided by 3 points. 2:50 remaining, first half, 6-3. It looks as if that picture is staged. Rich Carlos about to kick off, and Colorado is Carlos country. Kid from Cincinnati, and they really love him here. 6-3 to score.
Very high kick.
Lionel James at the 4. Little train out to the 22-yard line with 2:41 remaining in the half. Well, there's so many things to talk about here, but most important, we should credit those wonderful pictures and sounds and direction to Ted Nathanson and Larry Cirillo. We forgot all about him last week.
I want to tell you, it's a pleasure to work with professionals, Dick. And when you have a crew that can capture the actions on the field, it just makes our job so much easier. And it's fun. A day like today, a perfect football day, a couple of teams battling out there, slugging it out on the field. But this is an enjoyable Sunday afternoon for us.
Chargers trying to make it an unhappy one for the Denver Broncos, and Buford McGee flashing his way out to the 34. Steve Busick made the tackle, 11-yard gain, and with 2.5 minutes left, the Chargers obviously with plenty of time to try to get that 3 points back that Denver has just scored.
The trademark of this Denver defense has been turnovers. I'm sure that's what they're thinking about now. I asked Merle Moore, the linebacker coach here, I said, do you teach your linebackers and your players defensively to strip the ball? He said, no, we're just around that ball, and good things happen for us.
You saw Jackson zeroing in as Ernest Jackson is out to the 39-yard line, and that'll take us up to the 2-minute timeout. 6 more yards for Ernest Jackson. It's 6-3, San Diego, 2 minutes before the break. Should be a terrific game. The Steelers and the Raiders. Rolf Bernerska, certainly a terrific young man, and acknowledged last year as the NFL Man of the Year, and he's been most involved in a blood drive in San Diego. More than 5,000 pints have been contributed, and Bernerska has been a key factor there. That means $67,000 saved by those who receive that blood. And Wednesday will be the San Diego Charger blood drive. We understand at the Town and Country Hotel Convention Center. We hope the contributions will continue. What a pass to Jackson, leading him perfectly and taking him out of bounds at the 42-yard line. Short gain, stops the clock, 1:54.
One of the knocks on Luther early was that he tends to gun the ball, to throw it too hard. He showed you some real finesse with that pass, and that is a very difficult pass. Looks so easy, just a little swing out of the backfield. But I think that's one of the toughest passes to throw. Has to be perfectly thrown, not to break the stride of the receiver. Jackson able to catch it in full stride, gets upfield and very close to the first down. Third, about a yard to go.
It's interesting. We have John Elway, the quarterback for the Broncos. Jack Elway, his father and coach, now at Stanford, but Jack Elway was at Luther's coach at San Jose State, so Mr. Elway has an interesting day. Jackson, I don't know.
Short. He's going to be short. He's knocked down short of that first down. Now it's going to be 4th down. Let's see if... I don't imagine the Chargers are going to want to gamble here, not this far into their own territory.
Wouldn't figure with a 6-3 lead, although 147 would give the Broncos a lot of time to try to...
Well, now they've decided they will measure it. They'll bring the chains all the way from the far side of the field. Dick, I wonder if, looking at the tempo of these two teams, do you think that the loss of Seattle maybe took a little bit out of this ball game? Hard to read these Broncos. They have not been as emotional today as I anticipated that they would be.
Well, you would figure teams like the Bears would be very emotional too, and San Diego defeated them 20-7 on Monday night. The Bears, surely, to be sure, without a healthy quarterback, that's a factor. Losing again today to Green Bay. Now timeout called by Denver. Figuring they're going to get the ball. Clock will be stopped again on change of possessions, and they have 1 timeout left. And we have time now to send you back for some very important words. It's 6-3 here in Mile High Country. Dan Reeves and his son on the sideline.
It's got a job down there that your coaches, when they wear that headset, are tied with an umbilical cord. And Lee is kind of minding the cord for his dad. You see him pacing a little, and Lee is making sure that cord doesn't get tangled up so he doesn't lose communications with the booth upstairs.
That's really following in your father's footsteps. Buford's kick is off the side of his foot and out of bounds. So
not a good kick.
Denver's going to get excellent field position out near the 34-yard line.
Chris Norman shanked a couple for Denver last week, and now Amari Buford returns the favor here as he boots one off the side of his foot. Puts the Broncos in excellent field position with a few seconds on the board. See if they can maybe get down, take a shot at it. 1:40 to go here.
24 yards on that punt. First down, Denver at the 34-yard line. Plenty of time for the Broncos, who trail 6-3. Watson comes out to the right. Butch Johnson to the left. Alexander slotted left.
They're still lining up. Single coverage on Watson. They don't think he can run.
Away over the middle to Wilhite. Tackled at the 44, a gain of almost 10. Mike Green made the stop. Only one timeout left for Denver. Wilhite and Winder lining up on the wings of Elway in the shotgun. Flag down. I believe Denver started before the play. Winder fumbles, and San Diego.
They're calling it no catch.
Ooh, that would have been a touchdown because Lyndon King had no one in front of him, but he had the pumpkin. Motion against the Broncos.
Broncos hurrying and may not have been set for a full second as they were getting ready to snap that ball. That often happens when you try and hurry too fast. The San Diego Chargers have been using 6 backs.
Number 76, offense, second down.
Kenny Lanier, the right tackle. The Chargers have been using 6 backs today. I don't know how many healthy ones they have. They've gone through so many defensive backs on the season. They've used 43 moves, roster moves, moving people on and off the roster during this year. Just incredible, the injury problems, and many of those problems in the defensive secondary, where all 4 of the original starters no longer in their positions. They've gone out of some of them right off the roster, and some still coming off injuries.
Over the middle to Alexander. Hit immediately by Lyndon King. That'll be a first down, but what's important here, the clock is running on Elway. Exactly a minute left.
Elway will have him on the line without a call. 2-minute offense here.
Chargers rushing only 3 men. Oh, almost intercepted. Andre Young diving in front of the intended receiver, Winder.
San Diego defense, everyone dropping extremely deep. The thing they're thinking here, we will not give you the easy shot deep. If you're going to move it down the field, you've got to throw the short passes and work your way down the field.
Stops the clock with 49 seconds left in the half. 6-3. San Diego leading. They turn 2 turnovers into field goals. 42 yards by Benershka, and then 41 yards, and then a 30-yard field goal by Carlos here in the second quarter. Going for it all to Butch Johnson, and he was well covered. 31, Bill Kay from Purdue, former Oiler, had him pinned away from the ball.
The advantage there, Kay started extremely deep in the secondary, lined up about 12, 15 yards deep, and even a speedy receiver has trouble overcoming that kind of a jump.
Well, we've been looking forward to that one for a long time. Merlin and I will be up in the Kingdome in Seattle. The Broncos and Seahawks, regardless of what has happened today, the winner of that game is the champion of the AFC West.
Folks up in Seattle licking their chops, and I'm afraid Chuck Knox's team may be looking past Kansas City today.
Complete at the
clock is running, though. They'll come up. They'll try and set it quickly. Ticking down.
Wilhite, 10 yards on that catch. 26 seconds. They have 1 timeout left.
You see Elway running over to tell Butch Johnson to play. The noise of the crowd here working against Elway. You see him trying to quiet him down.
15, 14, 13. That's going to be almost intercepted by Kay. Intended for Butch Johnson. 11 seconds showing on the clock.
You think it's noisy here. These Broncos already thinking about next week. Their owner, Pat Bolin, is having them fitted with special noise plugs, earplugs for that Seattle Stadium next week, the Kingdome. I think they might need them.
Mr. Boland, who's from Canada. Apparently the Winnipeg team used these industrial earplugs when they played against Vancouver in indoor stadium, the British Columbia Lions, and some Oregon manufacturers going to fit $100 a pair. The entire Denver team. It cuts out outside noise, and you can still hear close conversation.
How are you going to hear the audible, Dick?
Well, I say you can still hear the close conversation. Wilhite has to get out of bounds and does at the 33 with 5 seconds left, and that will make it a very tough try for Carlos. And you know this crowd really rooting for this young kid to boom a big one, and this will be a long try of around 50 yards.
You mentioned the kind of support he's gotten from this Denver crowd. He said he'd had over 200 letters after the second kick had hit the upright. And I said, how many bad ones? He said, it amazed me. He said only 3 that were really nasty. He said most of the others, in fact, almost all of them, in support.
His longest ever is 45. This would be 50 yards to tie. Carlos's longest of the year, 50 yards. The first half comes to an end.
He doesn't show much of a reaction here, but you have to believe that inside, that young man is jumping up and down.
Well, as he told us yesterday, I can't get myself down too low when I miss him, and it just figures that he can't be too thrilled when those go down the middle. But what he has done is made his teammates mighty happy and the crowd as well. That's the intermission. The Chargers and the Broncos even on field goals. Are even at 6 apiece, and it's interesting in that Seattle was upset by Kansas City and San Diego's played the Broncos well. The two teams that are leading in that turnover table had the table turned on them today.
You can't lose your concentration. Very often that's what turnovers are for you. A lot of interceptions for Craig in that game against Kansas City today, and the Charger defense has the turnovers today. 2 of them, they led directly to 2 Charger field goals, and of course that's all they got in the way of points in this first half. And that Charger defense, by the way, which has been so badly bruised and banged up and have not played that well early in the year, they suddenly are playing good football, except for the game they played against Pittsburgh. 52 points in that ball game. They have been playing very well.
They get some of their injuries back. The Walters and Birds, the corners, the starting corners, and the rest. They could be a tough team again next year.
They certainly don't have many players aside from the injured leaders left anyway.
Well, one man with a smile on his face, Rich Carlos, the kicker for the Broncos. He's even the count at 6. We'll be back after these words from your local station. Half at Mile High Stadium in sunny Denver, Colorado, tied at 6. Rich Carlos will kick it off. James and Buford McGee deep for San Diego. Oh, he hit that one aplenty. And the Chargers will take the touchback. First half statistics.
Very low yardage for both teams in total numbers here as you glance down the list. The thing that will impress you, 126 for the Chargers and 155 for the Broncos. Turnovers. We've talked about that at the half. The Chargers have given up 0 to a team that's number 2 in the NFL in that category, and have been able to get 2 of their own. Time of possession is evened out. That was very uneven in the first quarter there.
The Broncos came back to get their 2 field goals on long drives in the second quarter. Joyner in motion. Ed Luther for the injured Dan Fouts. Underneath, Ernest Jackson. Good yardage, 35-40. And it's a 41-yard line for number 41, Ernest Jackson, a 21-yard pickup.
You see on Jackson's right hand, he is still protected. Broke his hand against the Broncos in a game, I guess it was actually against the Raiders. And then he came back and played in that Bronco game. But here he does an excellent job of just swinging out of the backfield. Luther had him all the way, and that's a long handoff. Gets away from the linebacker. Steve Foley, number 43, the man that finally dumped him.
As he anticipated contact, he put it in his good hand, the ball, and Jackson again to the 45, a 4-yard gain. He is naturally left-handed, so in breaking the right hand, that was the good news. At least his better hand was healthy, and as soon as he sees contact coming, he tucks it away with the left hand.
This time of year, there are a lot of players who are injured. No question about it. Very few totally healthy. There are the numbers for the leading rushers in the AFC.
Counting today's first half, Jackson has taken the lead. Marcus Allen will play tomorrow night against the Lions. Freeman McNeil, his season is over. We have Greg Bell and Sammy Winder, the top 5. Jackson, the current leader. And chance for more. Flag down. That might have been 32nd penalty to lay a game.
We saw the cast on Winder's hand. Rulon Jones, number 75.
Number 60, offense, second down.
Dennis McKnight. Rulon Jones also wearing a big cast on that left hand of his. Broke that hand earlier in the year, and he said, I have a hard time cutting my food and holding a knife, but he said, I can play football. he's a character. He's the best pass rusher. The Broncos have not been able to generate great pass pressure from the front line. They've utilized, I think, 16 different people in the pass pressure. Then we get that stat, that team defense stat a little later.
Second down, 11. Luther to Duckworth, almost intercepted by Harden, who leads the team with 6 interceptions. The ball thrown behind Duckworth.
He's the one they're picking on over there. Harden has improved his performance a great deal, but they would still much prefer to go to his side of the field rather than go after Louis Wright, who has turned in another fine year here in 1984.
He's up 3rd and 11, and Tom Jackson, the defensive signal caller, looking to the sidelines. Luther starts with only Holohan, a tight end, in the backfield as a flanker. Keeps him in the block. Down he goes for the second time. Rulon Jones, that's his 9.5 sack of the year to lead the club.
We just talked about him, and there he is, right on cue. Using his good hand, Luther will go back. The blitz is on. Jackson coming inside, but Rulon Jones just fights his way through traffic on the inside. Masick and Wilkerson trying to block him. He just powered his way in. Number 77, Carl Mecklenburg, a linebacker who also jumped to a 3-point stance. Also in to help on that sack, working on Sam Clapham.
Maury Buford roots out a long one. Gerald Wilhite at the other end. And down he goes at the 15-yard line. 46-yard punt by Maury Buford. Broncos have the ball for the first time in the second half. They're tied at 6 in Denver. Dick Enver with Merlin Olsen. I want to go back to that sack. I want to use the telestrator. Watch Rulon Jones 75. This reminds me so much of Merlin Olsen in his heyday with the Rams, just crushing to the inside and then nimble enough to make a little spin out and right into the quarterback's lap. Here comes Jones, spins out and makes the play. Well, that's right out of your textbook.
Well, I didn't teach him how to do that, although he did go to Utah State. He got a little training up there.
I knew you'd get that in. First down, the Broncos. First possession, second half, a 6-all tie. Parrott and Winder in the backfield behind Elway. Draw to Parrott. Nice running out to the 24, a gain of about 9. Lucius Smith made the tackle.
I think he learned that at Utah State too, Dick.
Another Aggie. 5'11" and 200-pound Parrott. You know, these backs are like they're all out of the same mold. They're all around 5'11" and 200 pounds. Winder, Wilhite, Paris, even the backups. Chris Brewer's a little taller, but Jesse Miles at 5'9" and 200.
Early in the year, Winder carried a big part of the load. Here in the latter part of the season, Wilhite and Paris have played well, especially Wilhite. He's been a big performer here.
Equipment man loved it. He can just change the uniform, put new numbers on. They all wear the same size. Winder. First down.
One of the things that is terribly amazing about this stadium, Dick, this field is in such great shape, and we're looking at ground level across the field. This is a baseball field, not really a football field. There's no crown on this field. Most football fields crowned in the center. This one is dead flat. Now, the Chargers are used to that. Their field also dead flat going across. And sometimes when teams will go into a stadium like in Buffalo, I think there's an 18-inch crown on that field in Buffalo, and when your receivers go to the outside, sometimes you overthrow them. They drop off the hill on the far side.
It is a big adjustment. First down, Denver. 6-all tie, third quarter, 11 and a half minutes remaining. Elway buying some time. And some more. And some more. Finally finds Wright, the tight end, and he has the first down at the 37. Jim Wright, he must really feel forgotten and forlorn. He looked at everyone in the entire stadium. He said, finally, hey, you never throw to me. I've been open. And he finally got the ball.
They call him Daddy. Daddy Wright. John Elway, showing you scrambling ability, will run out to his left side, and the Chargers feel that he is the most dangerous when he is running. There's Kay right at the bottom. It looked like he was open briefly. Elway's going to run back to the right-hand side. It looks like Butch is all alone. Look at Butch. He said, hey, John.
He said it was Jim Wright's turn.
Yeah.
First down at the 37. Oh, he drills that one to Johnson, and it was almost caught. Oh, I thought he almost intercepted it. What a catch. How did that ball get through the defender?
One of the reasons that Johnson can make that kind of play, he has very, very long fingers, very big hands for a small man. Controlled that football. It went right through the arms of Bill Kay, and watching him stretch the fingers out here a little bit. Do you think he plays the crowd a little bit there?
Just a share. 25 yards for Johnson. He's ready to do his orange moonwalk. He was in position for it. First down. Winder driving to the 28-yard line, and a gain of 9 more. Danny Winder, big baseball fan, yesterday at practice wearing a Texas Rangers helmet.
They showed clips earlier of that practice yesterday and how loose these players were. And one thing that we didn't get to talk about was the fact that Reeves and some of the players here, Tom Jackson, I think, mentioned it specifically, felt that, when you see the first down, felt that the practices had been so spirited prior to the last 2 games that they left part of their game on the practice field.
Otis Armstrong with the best rushing year ever for the Broncos. Floyd Little, great player for so many years. And now Winder has joined very select company. And he's been busy on this drive. Watson and Johnson both to the right. Jim Wright flips away to the left with Winder behind Elway. A 6-all tie. Winder again. Finally down at the 13-yard line. For Winder.
The Broncos caught San Diego thinking pass, and they hit them with the draw play. You see the pressure coming. They were blitzing. Billy Ray Smith coming inside. Winder right through the area that he had vacated and using his balance to get a few extra yards. When you can hit a blitz with that little delay, you can sometimes get excellent yardage.
What a drive. 5 plays, 5 first downs. Gerald Wilhite to the 4-yard line, and 9 more yards before Mike Green can make the stop.
Wilhite literally ran right out of the arms of Lucius Smith. You'll see it here. He dipped into Smith right here and then outside. Gave him a little limp leg. That's a fine move. As I said, Wilhite has really been a spark plug for these Broncos in the last few ball games.
Elway came almost to the sidelines to talk with Dan Reeves about the call here. It's 2nd and 1 at the 4.
They're trying to get this crowd to quiet down so that the Broncos can hear the count.
5 5 on the 30-second clock, 3 on the 30-second clock. Just gets it off, and Winder has a touchdown.
Being shut down on so many drives in the first half of this ball game, the Broncos finally able to put a very fine long drive together. 8 plays, 85 yards, eating up 5 minutes and 13 seconds off the clock.
6 rushes and 2 passes. Carlos' try for point is good. And what was impressive about that long drive, if you've ever seen backs run any harder than Winder and Wilhite and Paris, and it gets Denver the first touchdown of the game. You talked earlier, Merlin, about all the injuries to the Chargers, and it's contagious. It's caught the coaches, too. Tom Bass has a torn bicep muscle. Al Saunders has 3 broken fingers. Jim Wagstaff, the defensive backfield coach, has pulled a muscle, and it's been incredible. And how it happened is kind of interesting, too. Bass tore his bicep when he fell into the kicking net. Al Saunders, broken fingers. Coryell slammed the door on his 3 fingers of his hand. And the other coach, Wagstaff, got so excited in the Miami game that he pulled a hamstring running to the locker room for the celebration.
I walked into their coach's locker room. They said, this is the training room in here. So,
but they're all in full battle gear today. Whoops, a mix-up. Luther to Jackson. Louis Wright. 4 times in all-pro corner, he had it all the way.
The timing never did come together on that play, and this is when the Denver defense is toughest. They get a little edge on you. They just come off on you. Watch the bump here. Luther bumps into Wayne Morris, the back right there, and then trying to sucker the defense in a little bit. Didn't get any part of Louis Wright. He was right on top of that play.
Loss of 6.
To hear the signals now.
Holohan, he heard him, and it's a big gain as Holohan plows to the 42-yard line. Busick and Dennison tracked him down after a 28-yard play.
Yeah, South, of course, famous for this kind of pass, and the Chargers famous for utilizing their tight end. Holohan, the H-back, really in their pattern. He's the man that comes in motion, just coming up through the seam in the defense. And Luther did a good job of getting that ball to him. Holohan showing us some good power as a runner.
He's had a year. Those 3 catches give him 50 for the season. Ernest Jackson drawing a crowd of orange, led by Tom Jackson. Jackson and Jackson in a Stonewall play.
We don't have 5. We could have the Jackson 5 if we had 5 of those guys.
Well, they wanted to be here, but they were busy.
There's Tommy Jackson.
Watson, Jackson, and Johnson, our 3 sons. Well, Ernest Jackson, hardly adopted by the Denver fans, but boy, San Diego pleased with the development of Ernest Jackson. He bodes well for their future. Second and 8. Holohan over the middle. There he is. The umpire gets an assist on that one. 2-yard play, and that tough position, the umpire right in the thick of it.
Get a chance to watch him in action. I think that's Ben Montgomery in there. Now that's the lineman. Where's the umpire? He's in there somewhere. Gets run over by that play. He's got to make room for those players on the inside. No chance. That is Ben. That's Ben Montgomery. Yeah.
Oh, that's the toughest job in all officiating. You're right there in the middle. There, see where he is, just behind the linebackers, and he's got to watch for holding. He doesn't see those bodies flying all around him.
Not unusual to get stepped on and injured back then.
3rd and long for Luther. Underneath, and a first down at the 41-yard line to Jesse Bindros. The rookie from Alabama, his second catch today, 14 for the year, and he gets 14 yards on the play.
The Chargers have come right back after that long drive by the Broncos for the score. They got one of their own going here, and Luther, I think, really showing much more poise in this ball game than he did early, although he played extremely well against the Chargers last Monday night. Last year, it seemed rather rattled in the games last year. He's matured a great deal since then.
Time, and there's the open man, Duckworth at the 25, and another first down.
I asked Don Coryell early this year, I said, what would you do if Dan Fouts went down? I said, God forbid, I would never want to see that happen, but would you have to change your offense with Ed Luther? He said, no, we'll run the same patterns, we'll do the same thing. He said, I don't expect that Luther, at least in the starting, would be able to do what Dan Fouts can do. Fouts is a magnificent quarterback, but we will ask him to do the same kinds of things. And you see him doing some of those same things here today.
He's 5 for 5 passing on this drive. Ed Luther. Buford McGee. Oh, that was a aggressive defensive play by Steve Foley, the veteran from Tulane in his 9th year, former college quarterback with the Green Waves. Oh, he met the play in the hole in a hurry.
Foley, one of the leaders back there, certainly the leader of that secondary, has had his finest year ever. He is a tough son of a gun.
The Chargers have not enjoyed much success in the third quarter. Outscored today 7-0, but they're driving for some of their own with 3:35 left in the period. As another 75, Jones, Deacon Jones of the Rams.
That's the kind of play that Deacon made so often from the left side of the field. Rulon just running right around Sam Clappin, using his speed. He's not a power rusher. He's a finesse rusher, just using his quickness to get around Sam to the outside, and that's the blind side for Luther.
3rd and 17. And Luther has found Joyner for a first down. Has Luther been brilliant on this drive? How many times long yardage he's come up with a perfect throw.
Charlie right in the middle of a whole patch full of Denver Broncos on that play. I don't think that was a well-advised pass. He was well covered, but Luther got it in anyway.
Ranked 27th and 25th, the defenses of these two teams.
But look at the lower stats. The Chargers have given up 24 TD passes. The Broncos only 13. Both these teams talk about bend but don't break. The Broncos have done a better job of not breaking.
Now here's another test. Ernest Jackson up the middle for about 4 to the 9-yard line.
This is the area of the field in which the Broncos have been toughest. They've been tough to score on when you get down inside their 20 and down inside the 10. The field shortens up, gets a great deal smaller. And these Broncos have a great deal of confidence in themselves. I think very often that's the critical, you see the signal going in from their leader, Joe Collier. He'll get them pumped up.
9 yards away from a tying touchdown of the Chargers. It's 2nd and 6. Flag flying, and Buford McGee is to the 3-yard line. Maybe the 2 before Wright and company can make the tackle, and it appeared that Luther had drawn the team offside with a stuttered cadence count. That's right.
That'll be an interesting choice now. Do you take the 5 yards and have it 2nd down and about 2.5, 3 yards to go? Or do you take the gain and it will be 3rd and about a half a yard to go? That's not an easy choice to make.
I think I'd take the penalty.
Dan Reeves not happy at all on the sideline. Disappointed last week in the way his offense has played, that his defense really only had one bad drive last week, a drive that they felt they could have stopped. In fact, Dennis Smith dropped a couple of passes that were in his hands, and a couple of other players had a chance to stop the drive. But offensively, very disappointed. I think has to feel better about the way his offense has played today.
Reeves perhaps feeling that the quarterback had a bit too much influence and should have been guilty of a 5-yard penalty himself.
Number 57, defense, second down.
Jackson, an emotional player, and eager. And indeed, you saw it, Reeves lowering his head, saying he's jerking his head to draw the defense offside. We can watch and see if he'll do that on this next play as well. He probably won't. Then all he knows the referees are watching.
They take the penalty, so it's second down and about 2.5 for a first down. Ernest Jackson right to the goal line and stops just shy of the end zone.
Let's watch that play develop in the backfield. Right here, Ernest Jackson from his position is just going to take that ball and rip right into this hole. Watch the way this play develops with the blocking of Morris, number 25. Little toss to Jackson. Busick coming over, Foley coming over, but great blocking, especially by Morris, number 25. He's the guy that really has made a tremendous difference in the way he's been able to block for this offense.
First and goal at the 1-foot line for San Diego. Buford McGee didn't make it.
It looked to me like he was in the end zone.
They haven't signaled. They are marking it right at the goal line.
They came straight at the defensive line, right up the center of the line. You're looking right at Luther. He hands it off inside. Buford McGee is, well, it's hard to tell from that angle. Good defensive play by the linebackers.
Look at how they get down low. Look how those linemen, offensive linemen, just all submarining, just the reverse of what you expect the defense to do. They're down low.
Well, the philosophy there is sending defensive linemen underneath and the linebackers over the top. I think they'll go outside. No, right straight up the gut again.
And McGee doesn't make it again. It'll be third and goal.
What a test. Looking down the line. Watch the two-line search. Those blue helmets underneath. And right there, you see the Busick, number 58, diving over the top of the sack. Louis Wright, number 20. And the philosophy worked ideally. They cut the legs out from underneath the linemen, and then the linebackers over to the top to make the stop.
And that'll be the end of the third quarter in Denver. So the fans at the other end will be cheering for this goal line stand. 13-6 Broncos. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. Those orange and blue, that sky blue and the orange decorated crowd. It's third and goal inside the 1. Gonna go wide this time. Jackson does not make it. It'll be fourth and goal. Merlin, 50 times this year, opponents have had goal to go against Denver, and they've stopped them now 41 of the 50 times. They're amazing.
And they'll have another chance as Don Coryell elects to go for the 7-point on fourth down.
He doesn't make it again. They stopped him on the skid.
I think he may have made it. Unless someone touched him. It looked like he skidded into the end zone. They're going to say he was touched.
And the crowd celebrates. It's a great goal line stand by the Broncos.
It looked to me like Jackson slipped on his own, and he ends up crawling into the end zone. If he was touched there, then he's down. It looked like they may have touched him. But watch Jackson. If he can keep his feet, he'll get into the end zone on this play. He slips. He crawls. Sticks that ball in the end zone, but it won't count.
Ernest Jackson thought he had a touchdown. It remains 13-6. A goal line stand. Broncos stopping the Chargers 4 times inside the 1-yard line. Now, Jackson, indeed, at the tail end of the play, it didn't seem that anyone touched him, but he may have been touched. Well, here it is at the tail end. Is he touched here as he makes his cut? Incidentally, does any Bronco make contact there? Certainly would be a tough call at best.
Well, if they touched him incidentally, it still counts. Right. But he was able to get into the end zone. If he slips on his own, he can get back up and run.
It's academic now as the Broncos take over at the 1-yard line. And he barely got out of the end zone. Another score. The Houston Oilers making things difficult on the Rams, 20-16 in the third quarter. We understand Eric Dickerson is over 100 yards today in pursuit of O.J.'s record.
Running up a storm. We talked early in the year about the growth of the Houston Oilers and how it would take time for them to come together under Hugh Campbell and working Warren Moon into that offense. Over the last 4 or 5 weeks, they have indeed started to play the kind of football that indicates that people won't be able to take them lightly in the future.
They've won 3 of their last 4, and they're pressuring the Rams today. 2nd and 8 from his own end zone. And the Chargers say they've recovered a fumble, and the officials agree. San Diego has just recovered a fumble, I believe. At least that was the signal I saw.
The third turnover of the day, if it's true. 2 fumbles and an interception, yes. There it is, San Diego's offense marching out onto the field. And it looked like the Chargers were going to be denied their touchdown. They've got a second shot at it now from the 4-yard line. Looking from behind. Little toss out to Winder. Looks like he's got good blocking on the outside. Let's see what happens in there. That ball just squirted away early. Who's that, 62? No, that's 92. Eric Williams, the linebacker. Hard to see the number. Doesn't get a chance to play very often. They're using the short yardage or goal line defense against the Broncos, knowing they were going to run the ball, try to give themselves some room.
Boy, turnabout is fair play. The Broncos, who have had a field day in that turnover table, just as Seattle has, the top 2 teams. But today, it's just the reverse, as Kansas City had 6 interceptions. We don't know about fumbles, and they're upset at Seattle. And now San Diego, 3-0 in the turnovers. And the Chargers now have a chance to tie. Recovery. The Chargers with excellent field position when compared to the Broncos, but never starting a series quite this neatly at the 4 of Denver.
Well, all 3 of those good field positions really inside Denver territory by turnover, Dick. All 3 of them.
2 fumbles and a pass interception. Another chance
for the pass, I think. I think they're going to throw the ball here.
They couldn't run it, so they're going to try to pass it. Wide open, McGee. Touchdown, San Diego.
Coryell says, why didn't we do that before? Well, when you get down inside that 1-yard line, your thinking has to be, we've got 4 shots and we can hammer it in. Well, right here, Luther goes over the top. Buford McGee gets open. Tucks it away.
And that was not as easy a throw as it might have first appeared. He had to get it over the stretch. Look at here. That defender was very close, Dennis Smith.
That's the finesse. Luther's developing that.
Now the extra point to tie it up. Benerska is through, and with 13 minutes and 41 seconds left, 4th quarter, they're back on even again. 13 for the Chargers and 13 for Denver. Welcome back to Mile High Stadium in Denver. Dick Enberg and Merlin Olsen were in the 4th quarter. Minute and a half gone, tied at 13. The Heaters, present early, and they almost seemed ludicrous as warm as the day was, but the temperature chilling a bit as the sun sets on this beautiful day in the Rockies. Danny Winder fumbled on his last carry, and he's out to about the 33, a gain of 4. Billy Ray Smith leading the defensive charge.
We asked why they had those heaters on the sideline, and the answer was you can't always tell about the weather here in Denver. Remember the game we did, Dick, a New England game several years ago? Started the game, looked bright, crisp, and clear, and we ended with about 6 inches of snow on the ground here. So they believe in being prepared here in this cold country. By the way, even though it's nice and warm down here, they've got plenty of snow on the mountains. They're skiing in the hills here above Denver.
Beautiful snow-capped Rockies you saw in our opening shot. 2nd and 6. Pressure on. Watson. Yeah, there's your clutch receiver, bad back and all. And Elway showing some courage. He threw out of a big crowd.
I've got to believe that because of Watson's back problems, they've kind of left him alone a bit. Single covered by Lucius Smith. and Elway makes the decision to go after him. They tried to blitz Elway on that play. He got good protection, good pickup by the offensive line of the Broncos, and Elway able to get that ball to Steve Watson. And I'll say it again, I'm amazed that Watson is still out on that field. We mentioned the back injury and the fact that yesterday he was finally able to tie his shoes after going down with back spasms earlier in the week.
Left guard Keith Bishop has just limped off. We also should note that Woody Lowe is not in the defensive alignment for the Chargers. He was hit in the eye for his wife Linda. Not serious, but he will not play the rest of this game.
Well, we've got two rookie guards in there, Freeman and Freeman and Cooper. Howard and Bishop usually in there are both on the sideline, and there's a holding call.
So the tight end Clarence Kay, but it probably won't count.
You've got to believe it's one of the rookies. They're in there trying to handle responsibilities they don't get many shots at. Well, indeed.
Mark Cooper, 63, was the man who reacted.
Yeah, he's saying, no, I didn't do it. But
Jerry Mark Bright.
Face mask foul. Number 63, offense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Cooper on Chuck Ian. You'll see him right here. Watch it. Here's Cooper, and here's the man he's going to end up locked up on. Turning loose, and he'll drop back. Oops, I take it back. He goes the other way. He gets Billy Ray over there. Looks like he was going to stay on this side, but he grabbed Billy Ray by the face mask, pulled him down. That's a no-no.
Left knee is the word on Bishop. We do not know how serious. First and 15. Gets away from Green, gets away from Ian, and out of bounds at the 46th of San Diego. Look at Green way back at the 33. Can't believe he couldn't get him.
John Elway is an excellent athlete. He just ran right out of the arms of a very quick linebacker. We've seen Green run some backs down from behind. Elway also knows how to work that sideline, got as much as he could before he streaked out of bounds.
Now they're saying cramps of the left leg for Bishop. That's better news for Denver fans.
Definitely good news. Bishop, by the way, snaps on field goals and extra points. He's a man you don't want to have in trouble.
Remember, he limped out in the Raider game that they won in overtime. He couldn't play, but he could get into snap, and that was crucial. Full blitz. And Winder to the 42. Tim Fox was coming in on a Red Dog from a safety position, and Fox and Elway, Fox was looking forward to that opportunity because he and Elway have been in a verbal battle all week long. There's Tim Fox from Ohio State. He had his own thoughts about Elway. He compared him to John McEnroe. He says he's our tennis McEnroe.
Well, Fox kind of started this thing in that game out in San Diego. He was just kind of shooting his mouth off a little bit. He yelled at Elway. He said, throw one to me. You've thrown one to everybody else.
We call him the Big Brad. I guess the Big Brad can't take a joke in terms of our kidding him. Well, I'm sure it wasn't just little kidding. Elway had indicated earlier in the week that he wanted most of all to burn Fox. He was going to go after him. Winder to the 36. Gain of about 5 more for Sammy Winder. Mike Green makes the stop.
Here's what John Elway had to say after reading what Fox had to say. This is almost soapbox.
Now, does that really, do players really get that seriously involved, or is this just newspaper talk?
Well, Dick, I'll tell you, as a player, I always believed that one of your responsibilities was not to give the other team that kind of information, anything that would fire them up. I said, let them get up on their own. I don't want to give them something that's going to get them fired up. But I was not, I was one who believed in that. There were a lot of guys who didn't think that was the way to do it.
Winder carrying tacklers with him to the 33. He'll be short of the first down by at least a yard. Deacon was that first and fourth, and yeah. Deacon would talk a little, wouldn't he?
Well, Deacon Jones would have his own press conferences, and I'd hear him clear from the other end of the locker room. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I said, Deacon, hold it down. Don't you say I. Deacon, say don't get me into this. I guess the most famous quote of that kind, talking about opening your mouth, was Namath prior to that Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Back in '63, I guarantee you we're going to, and then he went out and did it. Well, you can back it up. It's not bragging, and it worked in that case.
It's fortune making is what it is.
Yeah.
Well, the Broncos in a tie here with 9.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. A big third and a long one.
He's going to be close. Little sneak. They weren't getting anywhere. Second effort by Elway, but I don't know where they're going to mark it.
Tim Fox has his nose in the huddle there telling him where to spot it.
We haven't heard a great deal from Ferguson today over on that right side. He's the best pass rusher for the San Diego offense, working on Dave Studdard, big number 70. Studdard had an interesting comment in an earlier ball game against the Raiders. He got hit in the head and he was having blurred vision, and I asked him, he stayed in the game for quite a while. I said, was that dangerous? He said, well, it was for Elway. He said, I couldn't see the block.
Oh my. Far short of the first down, or at least in this situation it is.
Now, a foot. Dan Reeves making the call. It looks like he's going to gamble in this situation. We saw Coryell gamble earlier on a fourth down on the goal line and get shut down. He's hoping that maybe Reeves will get some of that medicine here with a fourth down gamble of his own.
Well, you got to guess this isn't another quarterback sneak. This could well be the game in a 13-all tie.
The Broncos 4 for 5 in fourth down of situations. Let's see what they do on this sixth attempt.
Both Harris and Winder behind Elway. It's Harris. First down and more to the 23.
An excellent block. Watch it from the outside. Number 87, right, will be coming right in here to block inside. It's the H-back coming inside right there. Billy Ray Smith. Look at that big hole. They just pushed the stack over backwards. And Harris able to take advantage of the blocking on the inside.
Keith Bishop back in the game, re-injured on the play. It was Cooper who was injured on the play and really favoring that left knee.
The man on the side, one a little short of hair, Steve Antonopoulos, the trainer. I can tell you, really a wonderful trainer. He's father confessor, does a lot of things for this team besides keep their bodies healthy.
They got 9 yards on that 4th and 1. A first down at the 23, draw to Paris. He has about 3 yards, maybe 4. Well, the Raiders at home, they played them around night, Monday night in Pontiac, but next Sunday, that'll be a big game here on NBC. It's our doubleheader. They're the early game, starting with NFL 84, Buffalo, Cincinnati. Of course, Cincinnati looking for the playoffs. Jets in Tampa Bay, an exercise. Colts in New England, the same now. New England's out of the playoffs, and Cleveland will play at Houston. Teams looking ahead to next year. But the late games, Pittsburgh and the Raiders, and Kansas City and San Diego. And Pittsburgh and the Raiders out at the Coliseum, and I understand there are some tickets available for that.
That should be a whale of a ball game.
Elway just that he blew the rush. Oh, that could have been. Was it caught? Incomplete. And Clint Sampson thought that he was hit early. John Turner, 27, was inside his jersey.
And how often the athletic skill and the mobility of a quarterback can turn what would appear to be a negative play into a positive play. Elworth, it looked like a sure sack here, but he just uses his mobility to get outside, and then with Lyndon King bearing down on him, fired a straight shot to Sampson. Sampson, by the way, that's another story. Hit so hard in the Buffalo game earlier in October, they thought that initially that he might even be dead. Here he is back in the game, catching the tough passes.
Third down, short 6. Complete at the 9-yard line to Watson. Again, Ron, how do you figure? Here's a man that couldn't tie his shoes, Steve Watson, 2 days ago.
And a couple things to look for. A lot of pressure on this man. Billy Bryan, the center, has to snap the football and then goes back as the option blocker, working on Keith Guthrie, number 73, to keep him off the quarterback. And there, Elway, with time, throws the strike, uses the good strength of his arm. He can throw this fast just with a zip. I mean, he fires that ball, and it's off so quick, you can't adjust to it.
First and goal for the Broncos, trying to break this 13-all tie. Winder gets very little. Elway now looking looking to the sidelines, and one has to figure on 2nd and goal from about the 7 that a pass play is the call. And look at the Chargers. 1, 2, 3, 6 new men coming on the field as they're looking past. Word now that Cooper has an ankle injury. Mark Cooper, the man you saw just helped off the field.
It indicated early in the game that Cooper was in place of Paul Howard. Howard, of course, the regular at that position with a hamstring, unable to play, but definitely better news than a knee. It looked like a knee initially.
Puts Johnson in motion. They're looking for Johnson. And so are the Chargers. Number 31, Bill Kay, there to make the hit after only a 2-yard gain.
This is, as is the case so often late in the season when not too many of the bodies are really healthy. Howard, with the bad hamstring and all, goes out to take that right guard position and was out there helping to protect the quarterback on that last play.
Elway's numbers on the day: no touchdowns, 1 interception that led to a Charger field goal. Ball's right on the 5-yard line, 3rd and goal.
Now we've seen a dramatic goal line stand by the Broncos today. The Chargers would have that same kind of thing in mind here.
Wilhite joins Winder in the backfield.
They're blitzing, full open.
Fumble, and the Chargers have recovered at the 17-yard line. It appeared to be Keith Ferguson who fell on the loose ball as they had an all-out jailbreak.
There was no way to block as many people as the Chargers were sending. We'll have a chance to see it here. Watch the 2 safeties, Andre Young and Fox. They're going to be coming right up the middle, and there's no way to pick them all up. Not enough people to block, and it's Andre Young right on top of Elway. Knocked the ball away as Elway tried to get his arm back. 76 Ferguson right there to scoop up the football.
4th turnover to none. And that's just the reverse of the season statistics. So now it's the Chargers trying to break the tie in their favor. The war games of football. They knew that the 3 guards for the Broncos were nicked and injured. They sent their 2 safeties right through those slots, forced a fumble, denying the Broncos what would have been an easy field goal, and San Diego takes over at the 17. It's tied at 13, 6:24 left. Luther going for the long one to Wes Chandler. Almost intercepted by Dennis Smith. Luther threw that ball about 70 yards in the air.
Unfortunately, he threw it to an orange shirt. Dennis Smith, as we've mentioned, a couple of footballs in his hands last week against Kansas City, couldn't handle them. Looked like he might have been able to handle that football, but I think he was bumped by Wilson right at the end while he was trying to juggle it. Here it is right at the end. Does not totally control the football, and I think he's bumped right there by his own man and knocked that football away. Steve Wilson, number 45, and I think he was knocked by Wes Chandler, who was playing defensive back on the play.
Smith had a pretty clean shot before the contact occurred. Bobby Duckworth, speed burner, bottom of your screen. Holohan in motion. Luther to Holohan. Smith on the coverage.
We mentioned earlier in the broadcast that neither Holohan or Stevers had been a part of that earlier game in which the Broncos were able to come back with a long drive to win 16-13. There's Cooper on the sideline with ankle injury. They're not taking any chances. Trainer Steve Antonopoulos has got crutches for him, heads in for the sideline. And the Denver defense, they're thinking turnover right here. Pressure is on them right now, and they have responded well in this season to pressure.
Look at their lineup. They're putting just about every orange jersey but 2 on the line of scrimmage. 9 men up close. Almost picked off by Mike Harden, intended for Joyner.
This is where it gets tough for a quarterback like Ed Luther. He hasn't had that many opportunities to play under this kind of pressure. In that situation, the pass just slightly off cue and almost into the hands of the defense.
The Cowboys had led in that game 21-6, but the Redskins, with a big rally, now are up by 2 against Dallas.
With this kick from Luther's, Bufert's 3-yard line. He's lined up on a 3. Broncos will have pretty good field position.
Buford scuffed one earlier. Not this one. Oh, beauty. Wilhite all the way back to his 26. 40. 49-yard line. Buford may have outkicked his coverage 58 yards, but a 24-yard return by Wilhite. Including a 50-yarder, a career high. He's wearing a shoe on the barefoot at the moment. Of course, he kicks barefooted. There you see it. Last year, it was 24 below zero chill factor in Kansas City. He wore a very thin sock rather than barefooted and kicked a field goal. Next week, he was on the streets. A woman stopped him and said, "You wimp."
You can't win.
Meanwhile, 49 to Denver. The Broncos in a 13-all tie. Parrott to the 43-yard line. Let's run down all the scores of this next to the last weekend of the season. Pittsburgh still alive in the Central, although the pressure on from Cincinnati. They won as well. Seattle really upset by Kansas City, who upset Denver last week. St. Louis, a big game, beating the Giants. New England is out of the playoffs, losing at Philadelphia. Chicago loses again, this time to Green Bay, and Miami rallies to take Indianapolis. Dan Marino had 4 more touchdown passes, 44 for the sensational Miami quarterback. Parrott, nothing at the 42-yard line. He's short of the first down. Rest of the scores. Cincinnati, also 3-point win at New Orleans. Comes down to the final week in the Central. Tampa Bay beats Atlanta. Washington now a 2-point lead at Dallas. And Houston making it tough on the Rams. Rams at home lead by 4. Here it's tied at 13. Ball at the 41-yard line. They'll measure, but it appears to be short.
Game taking on some of the close characteristics of the earlier game, a low-scoring game in San Diego. We mentioned that Elway able to take the Denver Broncos on a long drive late in the fourth quarter. And Fouts came back, brought his team back. 31 seconds, took him down the field. Got Rolf Bernurska a chance. Unfortunately, not able to get that ball through the upright.
Well, color New Year's Day in the Peacock colors. We've got 3 terrific games scheduled for you. As you see, Carlos getting that barefoot tuned up. Fiesta, the Rose and the Orange Bowl. A big football package for you to start the new year. 3rd and inches. Winder's got the first down inside the 40. Clock running. 4:30 left in the game.
Denver crowd responding.
Boy, the pressure, though, Merlin. Wouldn't you know it? Here's Carlos. The last 2 weeks having to try to kick a field goal in the final seconds, hitting the uprights, and it appears, unless Elway's kind to his kicker and gets a touchdown for him, that he's going to be called upon for what might be another field goal try that could decide the game.
I got to believe, though, that he would respond well to that. I think he would like that opportunity, Dick.
He wants it. Winder. Wicked hitting, and Winder out of bounds at the 32. Billy Ray Smith with a tackle, but 8 more for Winder.
You can sometimes hear good football as well as you can see it. And that pop on the sideline, a very tough one, as Winder was able to outrun Lyndon King. A little jog back inside, and a lot of times a good running back can freeze the defense just long enough to use his speed to get outside. That's exactly what Winder did on that play.
Clock stopped with 4 minutes on the nose left in this fourth quarter. Tied at 13. Elway. Well, he was way off the mark to Watson as he popped it about 5 yards in front of his receiver.
Elway not taking chances on that play. Again, you see him going to a receiver, Watson, that he has great confidence in. The fact that Watson is still operating with that bad back has hampered Elway, and it's hampered Reeves. Of course, Reeves, you see the papers in his hand. He calls the plays. He has them listed by down and distance. Of course, he knows that San Diego will be making a massive substitution. 6 defensive backs on the field. Now, wait a minute. In this case, 5 defensive backs. They kept 2 linebackers in, Billy Ray and Lyndon King. 5 defensive backs. 4 defensive linemen. They'll be coming after Elway on this play.
with a couple of key scrambles today.
Coming into this game, Elway had rushed 40 times for an average of 4.3 yards. Very few quarterbacks run with that kind of effectiveness. I'm sure very few coaches appreciate their quarterbacks running that much, but Elway doing a good job of getting out of bounds after he got the first down. And I wonder what's going through Rich's head. Well, you see the little smile right there.
Nobody's kidding him.
So you mean it's down to this again?
Elway would like to take some of the pressure off. Gerald Wilhite with a flag down. Nose dives after a no-gain effort. Lucius Smith, who's had an excellent game at that corner, made the tackle. Motion Denver.
Mistakes in the form of turnovers, in the form of fumbles and interceptions that really has hampered the Broncos today, and that here is the penalty.
How do you figure? You would think that it's the Chargers or the Chiefs who are out of it would make the mistakes, not the two teams contending for first place.
I got to believe that part of it is pressure.
Illegal motion, number 24. He was in motion toward the line at the snap. First down.
Rick Peros, who doesn't really have that many opportunities to play, and he turned up too quickly as he came in motion. But I think very often it's pressure that really causes you to lose a little bit of concentration. The Chargers out there very loose. They have nothing to lose out there. They can gamble as much as they want, and I think it has helped their performance. I think that play down on the goal line, typical of that. They just threw it all to the wind and said, let's go.
Now first and 15, and the Chargers come in with an extra defensive back. Pressure on. Sampson, he's got it.
He's short of the first down.
Not by much. 15 yards, it appears. It's right at the yardstick.
I think he'd be a little short, Dick. It's going to be interesting to see what's called here now. They may have to. Now they're not even going to measure.
Turner makes the play defensively. It'll be second and inches.
This is the kind of down that you have an opportunity, if you want to go for all of it. You feel like you ought to be able to get that many yards in a single shot, but of course that's what San Diego thought earlier down on the goal line.
3:39.
No risk.
Perrigo. Hit from behind is by Keith Ferguson at the 8-yard line.
Ferguson pursuing all the way across from the offside.
Well, the other factor here, too, could be that by staying on the ground, Reeves uses the clock. He doesn't want to give the Chargers the ball with too much time left. There's 3:15 now remaining in the quarter.
Well, one thing in his favor, he's not looking across at Dan Faust on the far side of the field. Faust is back in San Diego.
That's Wright lining up on the left wing. Right up the gut. Winder inside the 5. Mike Green, another tackle. Spirited second-year linebacker from Oklahoma State. There's Ken Green, the safety man, also in on the play.
No opening inside. Winder just took it back outside, got away from the lineman, but good job by the linebackers of shutting him down. Ball nosed up right on the 5-yard line.
2:29, and the clock running. You can feel the chill in the air now as the sun is set. Lights are on. Winder. Chill back at the 11-yard line, and Ken Green was the man who made the play as he shot up from a safety position.
Fox and Green, the safeties. Green up close. Billy Ray Smith coming from the inside out. They did an excellent job of getting to Winder before he had a chance to do anything.
I think I saw the Chargers call timeout here with 2:15 left.
Well, they might be anticipating that.
You figure a field goal anyway.
Yeah, at least a field goal.
Now Rich Carlos takes a deep breath as well he has. We'll be back. Rich Carlos, he has to figure that he's going to get another chance to redeem himself. This is what happened last week in Kansas City. 44-yarder. It started right down the middle. Then the wind caught it, drifted, and almost drawn magnetically to that upright. No good, and the Chiefs prevailed by 3.
You've got to believe, Dick, that he is standing on the sideline hoping that he can wipe that particular image out of his mind. I will bet you that he woke up several times during this week with that same picture playing in his brain.
After hitting the upright 2 weeks ago in the Seattle loss. 3rd and goal from the 11.
Blitz.
Incomplete, intended for Watson, and it was Tim Fox on the blitz getting to Elway. So here comes Carlos with a chance to give his team the lead. It'll be a fairly short try, but it was a short attempt, about 25 yards that he missed 2 weeks ago, the same end of the field.
Steve Watson took a powerful hit to the back. I hope he wasn't injured on that play, but Carlos will have his opportunity.
Watson does jog off okay. This for the lead, a 28-yard attempt. Second happiest player on this field today is probably Rolf Benerschka, the Chargers' close friend, who most of all could identify with his travails of the past 2 weeks.
You have to believe there would be mixed feelings. Of course, Rolf would love to see his team go into overtime and perhaps have a chance to redeem himself from a miss in San Diego. Let's see what kind of reaction there is from Carlos. He's not an outwardly emotional player on the field. Well, I said it earlier. I'm sure inside he is jumping up and down.
Well, Benerschka may get his chance. 2:08 and plenty of time.
Right here, you've got to believe that Darn Coryell would like to have Dan Fouts as ace quarterback. No one in the league handles this 2-minute drill better than Fouts. Brings his team down the field so quickly. But let's give Luther a chance. Luther's had a chance to watch Fouts do it for many years. Maybe he's picked up a little of that magic.
There's the playoff picture, including today's games. Miami now is assured home field throughout the playoffs. Seattle and Denver, regardless of the outcome of this game, will decide the AFC West next week. The Raiders, should Denver lose today, the Raiders still have a chance. They're in the wild card. They're in the playoffs, but could get home field in the first game. Getting ahead of ourselves. Lionel Littletrain will take the touchback, 2:02. So San Diego will get one play off before the 2-minute timeout. I want to thank our director and producer, Ted Nathanson, Larry Ferrillo. Another great job here in Denver. Our Costanza and Company in full force. In the booth, Al King, Ron Talfers, Ray Friedman, Cliff Dodge. Thanks to our men and women with all the pictures and sounds from Mile High Stadium. Regains the lead at Texas Stadium, 28-23. St. Louis has defeated the Giants to scramble that NFC East. Whoever conceived the wild card really did a great service to the football fans of the NFL. It just brings everything down to the final game for so many. The Rams now open their lead against Houston.
Officials have had a brief timeout. I'm not sure exactly what they were doing, maybe checking for the accuracy of the clock. We're 2 seconds away from the 2-minute warning. An advantage for the San Diego Chargers, who will get an extra timeout, really, in essence, a single play, and then the clock will stop automatically.
According to the scoreboard, the Chargers have used 2 timeouts, so they have only 1 left, plus the 2-minute warning. They don't get much there. Jackson for 4 and a timeout, 1:58. Denver Broncos have a 16-13 lead here at Mile High. This may be another in the book of fantastic finishes. Oh, that reminds us. 16-13 here in Denver. Let's go to New York. What's happening with Eric Dickerson?
All right, Dick. Moments ago, Eric Dickerson scores from 5 yards out for the Rams, gives them a 27-16 lead over Houston. More importantly, at least from an historical perspective, he has 206 yards today. And with 6 more, he'll pass O.J. The Rams have the ball again, 5 minutes left.
Oh, my. So Dickerson, who everyone thought would need 2 games, might well break it in front of the home fans in Anaheim. Here, 3rd down and 6. Swinging out of the backfield to Bendross, who has the speed to get out of bounds, and a first down at the 31. Stops the clock with 1:47.
Chargers with all kinds of offensive machinery. They literally have all the plays you can imagine. But the ones they need right now are the ones that stop the clock without utilizing that last precious timeout. We can expect to see more and more patterns that take the receivers to the sideline to stop the clock.
You wonder, in a way, why defenses don't play those sidelines more, but about the time you do, somebody breaks clean down the middle, and you're burned for 6 instead of 3.
Well, even if you have the sideline patterns called, if you see one open down the middle, you're free to take it.
Good protection down the middle. Oh, Wes Chandler was wide open at the 50-yard line. Oh, Steve Wilson not only was 5 yards away, but had Chandler caught that one, he was going in a direction that had all the Denver momentum going the opposite direction.
Steve Wilson right here. Chandler will come just from off your screen and break it across the middle. Wilson, believing he's going deep, is going to turn his back on him. Now here's the break by Chandler. Watch Wilson, turns his back right there. Chandler wide open, had a chance to catch that football, and that's unfortunate. Would have been a big aid to Luther. 2nd and 10.
1:42 left. Charlie Joyner thought he was knocked down at the 50. Apparently, the news is big in Anaheim. Let's share it. Go to Bob Costas in New York.
All right, Dick, thanks very much. This 9-yard run by Eric Dickerson in Anaheim, as you said, makes history. He goes past O.J. Simpson. He has 215 yards already today, unofficially 2007 for the season. Pete Axtone called it on the pregame show, said he'd do it today. Dick?
All right, Bob, thank you for updating us on some NFL history. O.J. Simpson steps aside. His single-season mark broken by Eric Dickerson. Here in Denver, they're more concerned about the Broncos, who lead by 3, and the Chargers on 3rd down attacking. And again, Luther isn't close. And now San Diego down to its final play, unless they can pick up 10 yards.
Chandler, speed receiver. The man he's chosen twice on this series of downs. One time Chandler with the chance to catch. That one well over his head. No opportunity. I wonder who Luther will go to here. The calls that we mentioned coming down from Ernie Zampese upstairs. I wonder if they might not go to the old coach, Charlie Joyner.
The 45, but a flag is down, and we may have holding. Yes, we do, against the Chargers, and Joyner's catch in tough traffic is not allowed.
And Luther is limping. Luther went down, hit hard on that play.
Holding, number 77, offense, 4th down.
Very often, the pressure early in the game from Rulon Jones, number 75, has forced Sam Claflin to the limit, and in trying to protect his quarterback, grabbed a little too much cloth on that play. But what a disappointment for Charlie Joyner and for Ed Luther. They have the completion.
Now it's not 10 yards, but 20 on 4th down for the Chargers with 1:23 left. Chandler and Joyner to the left, Bendross to the right. Surprisingly, not out of the shotgun. Down the middle to Stevers, incomplete, and the Broncos will get the ball. Tom Jackson and Dennis Smith make the defensive play.
Tremendous pressure on Ed Luther, and I'm sure a very disappointed Luther. Jackson still down on the field.
That was quite a collision as the 3 men, Smith and Jackson and the receiver, coming together simultaneously.
Luther getting tremendous pressure here from the outside. Mecklenburg, the man. That was Jackson hitting from the inside. I believe hit by his own man coming the other direction, but he's all right. He's up.
Boy, does this set something up for next Saturday afternoon. It'll be 3:30 in the East, 12:30 in the West here in the Rocky Mountain area. At 1:30 for NFL 84, and we'll have for you the battle for the AFC Western title. The Broncos will meet the Seahawks, each with identical records of 12-3. And the winner will have some of the advantages of the home field, at least in the first couple of rounds.
Talking about home field advantages, there will be some to the Kingdome and the noise and the home crowd that will greet the Denver Broncos as they invade Seahawk country next Saturday.
Elway just takes the snap, and the Chargers spend their final timeout with 1 minute and 13 seconds left. So now it's academic. It's a matter of just having to snap the ball twice without a fumble, and Denver has the victory, 16-13, the same score that they beat the Chargers by down in San Diego earlier. When you think about the Chargers season, we have a lot of fans watching down that part of the country. This will be the fourth very close loss. 2 to the Raiders, 2 to the Broncos. They'll go 0-7 in the West, yet they were, 6-1 outside of this division. It again underlines how very strong the AFC West is.
It's been a disappointing year for Don Coryell, but a lot of good football from these Chargers. They've given us some of the most exciting games we have had all year.
There's the lineup next week, early games. And Pittsburgh, the Raiders, undoubtedly the most important game with playoff implications for both teams.
Someone a little eager on the line of scrimmage on that play, and I'm sure it's, I've been on both sides of the line of scrimmage, from teams that finished their season after the first 3 or 4 games to those that stayed on through the playoffs, and I'm sure this fan is very happy that his team is one of the winning teams.
Second down again.
Rich Karlis, the man of the year for the Denver Broncos, and the man of the day today.
He's been the man of the day. He sure has.
Each of the NFL teams' fans vote for their man of the year, a man who's contributed to the community as well as to his football team. Rich Karlis was the Denver winner here in 1984, barefoot and all. And today he kicked one first in the second quarter of 30 yards, came back to hit his career longest of 50 yards to tie the game at 6. And then with a score tied 13-all, he has won it in a perfect 3-for-3 day.
Got to be tremendous satisfaction for him. And for this city was rooting for him today. Everybody at meet that wanted to talk about Carlos and the field goal.
Final score, Rams have beaten Houston 27-16 on Eric Dickerson Day in Anaheim. And there's the successful snap, and that will be it here at Mile High Stadium. The Broncos winning at 16-13. Let's watch Karlis and see. Yep, there's Benerska. And look at Benerska. He's happy for his fellow kicker. He called him and talked to him an hour this week to try to boost his confidence and his emotions. They, most of all, understand the pressure of the job.
Good camaraderie as these two teams walk out to shake hands. As close as this rivalry has been over the years, and as hard-fought as this rivalry is, it is not a bitter rivalry.
The Chargers certainly challenging the Broncos, as San Diego has played very hard and very well, despite the fact they've been eliminated from the playoff picture. And the Broncos now have said, we're ready for Seattle, and so are we. That'll be a great game next Saturday. We'll return to Mile High Stadium in a moment.